What's up, Taiwan? I'm Leslie Liao with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. This month's magnitude 7.2 earthquake in Hualien caused widespread damage to the region, and the impact of the quake was felt across the country. Work has now begun on figuring out just how much it will cost to rebuild, as John Van Trieste now reports.
Nearly 2 weeks after a violent earthquake shook Taiwan, cleanup is underway. 51 buildings are condemned and 92 declared unsafe across the country. And the government says it's arranging for housing and financial support for displaced people, including up to $140,000 in subsidies to strengthen buildings against future earthquakes. Amid all this spending, there's one thing some politicians want to know. Officials are still doing the math. But when it comes to some infrastructure, there are already guesses. These include the costs of reopening rockslide-hit Taroko National Park, important for the tourism-dependent economy of Hualien County near the epicenter.
我想最大的经费可能是交通部的部分啊，我们自己国家公园初估大概是会有超过10亿。
The plan is to gradually reopen the park in sections, helping to bring visitors back to the area's hotels. Plans to improve a key highway linking Hualien to the rest of the country are still on track. The highway is vulnerable to tremors and rock slides and was briefly cut off after this earthquake. An extended tunnel to shelter the motorway is among the improvements planned for completion in 2032.
今年2月虽然在环评的专案小组有很多意见，那我们现在已经收集意见，预定在4月就送进这个专案小组，然后转这个大会。那我们目标就完全都不变。
Questions about the total cost may take time to answer. But in the meantime, construction crews will have their hands full as Taiwan begins an expensive recovery. James Lin and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
President-elect Lai Ching-te's cabinet is shaping up. The incoming premier has just welcomed 6 new officials into the country's next administration. Tiffany Wong has more.
Taiwan's new premier, Tsai, announced 6 new officials in charge of Taiwan's ministries and agencies along the theme of tech and economic development. Sewol said that he hoped these ministers would be able to help strengthen Taiwan's strategic industries, including semiconductors, AI, and communications, and would be able to help not only big companies, but also small and medium-sized enterprises as well as startups.
台湾已经在全球产业供应链当中扮演不可或缺的重要角色，掌握科技运用的速度，将会决定国家成长的速度。
Sewol announced Guo Zhihui as economics minister, Huang Yannan as digital minister, taking the position from notable hacker-turned-politician Audrey Tang, Liao Jingqing as head of National Development Council, and also put Wu Chengwen as the head of the National Science Council. Peng Jinglong was announced as head of the Financial Supervisory Commission, and Cheng Jingde is going to be the head of the Public Construction Commission. With just 1 month left to go before President-elect Lai Ching-te is set to take office, there have been several announcements of cabinet members like these, but this time around, notably, there are no women on stage. Now, there are still a few more prominent positions we're looking out for. That's the Minister of Foreign Affairs as well as Minister of National Defense, and those are yet to be announced. Eason Chen and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
President Tsai Ing-wen has welcomed a group of New Zealand lawmakers to Taipei, saying her government seeks stronger ties with Wellington. Tsai said she hopes like-minded democracies will unite to maintain peace in the Indo-Pacific. Taiwan and New Zealand have vowed to continue cooperation on indigenous culture, renewable energy, and trade. Taiwan imports fruit and dairy products from New Zealand, while just last week New Zealand agreed to import Taiwanese pineapples. It's been 10 years since the Sewol ferry sank off the coast of South Korea, killing hundreds of school children. Harel Hughes looks at how the disaster changed the country.
Jung Sung-wook sits in his son's bedroom. It's been empty for the last 10 years. His son was one of 304 people killed when a passenger ferry sank off the southern coast of South Korea 10 years ago, in the worst maritime disaster in the country's history. For Jung, it feels like yesterday.
이런 상황이 있으니까 너무 아수라장이었고 한마디로 지옥이라고 하는 표현이 아마 맞을 거예요. 그러니까
Most of the people killed were high school students on a school trip. Some documented the disaster on their cell phones as the ferry began to tilt. A voice over the speaker repeatedly telling them to stay put. While the captain and crew members abandoned ship and were the first to be rescued. Within hours, the ferry was underwater, and the families of the passengers unsure and distraught.
거의 2시간인데 왜 못 빠져나와요? 거기 가셔서 해양경찰 아니 그게 어떤 놈이 시간 선시대에 들어가 있으라 그랬냐고 도대체 말이 안 되는 거예요.
The disaster shocked the country. Clear that it was man-made. The ferry had been illegally redesigned and overloaded with cargo. The crew was inexperienced, and the Coast Guard slow to respond. Anger turned into action. There was an intense public response, and in the years that followed, the captain of the MV Sewol ferry was found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Crew members were jailed along with employees of the shipping company, which went bankrupt and shut down. The company's owner found dead after a month-long manhunt. And the disaster sparked the process of then-President Park Geun-hye's impeachment. But it's left a much deeper impact on the country.
I think it's equally important to not dismiss the kind of broader cultural change that Sewol disaster and then the movement of the victims, the affected communities has brought about in South Korea. The Sewol disaster was unprecedented in many ways, not just the disaster itself, but the fact that it incited a nationwide movement.
And 10 years on, the victims' families are still pushing for the country to improve its disaster response, to ensure this does not happen again.
저 피해자 가족들이 납득이 되는 납득이 되지 않는 한 계속 저희는 싸울 겁니다. 그 길이 아무리 험한 길이라도 싸워 나갈 거고요.
The sinking of the Sewol ferry continues to affect political and cultural life in South Korea. Each year, yellow ribbons are worn in remembrance and serve as a symbol of the citizen movement powerful enough to bring down a government. Patrick Chen and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Modern street food from China is making its presence in Taiwanese night markets. As Irene Lin reports, people in Taiwan are at the forefront of sharing these snacks with the world.
Once night falls, hungry foodies emerge to hunt for the best new treats in Taiwanese night markets, Chinese street food. These snacks have gone viral on Chinese social media platforms like TikTok and Little Red Book. And now their aromas have traveled across the strait.
因为网络上很红，
其实在台湾的接受度是很高的。
To many foodies in Taiwan, Chinese snacks like this yoga cup are refreshing both for the taste buds and their sense of adventure.
台湾观光客来说的话呢，它其实尝鲜的比例比较高，就是可能有一些过去的一些小吃美食，它其实已经太过熟悉了，所以大可是以尝鲜为主。
As appetites grow in Taiwan for these foods, vendors are blending the originally Chinese specialties into local novelties.
我去那边跟亲戚学了之后，然后再自己改良，然后结合西点的元素，然后再结合在地的食材。
With its many curious and adventurous customers, marketers say Taiwan may serve as a gateway for people to experience modern Chinese street food.
他会觉得说，这个好像曾经在短视频上面看过，但是他可能不见得会到对岸去，所以这时候呢，在台湾就变成了一个指定购买的机会。
In this new era, it seems nothing will go untouched by social media, and that includes Taiwan's long-standing night market culture. Scott Huang and Irene Lin for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today, Muslims the world over are celebrating the end of Ramadan. Indonesia marked Eid al-Fitr with this hot air balloon festival. I'm Liao. Take care, and I'll see you next time.